Check on the mic. Do. Hi, everybody. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Hey, buds. Hey, buds. Welcome to the show. My name is Dean. Joining me today, as always, is a yoga teacher out of the province of Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Please welcome Yoga Lochlin, ladies and gentlemen. Yoga Lochlin's back.
Thank you for having me.
Teaches his first class as a newly minted yoga teacher. Came back from Joshua Tree, fully qualified, saw some aliens, changed his life. Now he believes in an alien portal, and he's gone full into the crystals and the chakra and all the other stuff. And now he's teaching a yoga course, literally the world's greatest turnaround in a human being. From hard drinking, beer lock, morning radio, Bob's your uncle, Helen's your aunt, to a yoga teaching yogi who's had multiple alien encounters over the past 3 months. I mean, really, is this the greatest turnaround in human history? One would say so. Congratulations, by the way, on your first.
Thank you. I'm very excited. I'm getting a lot of people, I think, that are aware of this, that
you're teaching, or that you're cool enough to do yoga and you're trying to bring other people into the yoga world.
No, I think people are still a little. I'm shocked at how shocked people are about this. And again, maybe I don't know. Maybe it is. I think it. I had a long conversation before we jumped on the podcast with somebody, and the perception of who I am came up.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I've just learned to deal with it. I think, and we all do it, and everyone to a certain extent has this in their lives where, based on what you do or how you present yourself, and in small doses, you may have an idea about who that person is. I'm well aware of the perception that people have of Dean Blundell. Well, people have a perception of Locke based on limited knowledge of who I am. And that's fine. Sure. But so for me, it was an obvious thing, an obvious choice for me to, once I was downsized from my last job, the first thing I started to do was to look into the next steps. And the next steps for me, and I am not going to get rich doing this. I'm not going to make a bunch of money from it. But it's something that I wanted to do, and I'm going to do it. And I'm proud of myself for, using this opportunity, which is exactly what this was.
Oh, buddy, and I'm so proud of you too. Like we were saying in a false start of the podcast, and I know I tweeted yesterday how proud I was of you. This is a tweet that you put out. I want everybody to kind of have a look at it. Follow Lochlin. Super proud of my friend Lochlin Cross for doing this. If you yoga in Edmonton, be in attendance for his first class, June 15th. That is next Tuesday. Hatha Flow, 40 degrees. It's going to be a little hot yoga at lahariyoga.ca. You can go and check it out online. You can get scheduled for his class as well. I believe it's an early morning class, if I'm not mistaken.
11 a.m.
11 a.m. That's early morning for people like you on the weekend. 86 McKinney Avenue, Suite 200, St. Albert. So not too far from where you live now, kind of your old hood. But listen,
the first yoga studio I ever went to.
Oh, so this is a full circle thing for you, right?
Yeah.
Now you're back as a teacher. That's incredible.
And Larissa saw the podcast and offered the day that we got back, and I talked about, the YTT, the 200 hours yoga school. And we, she saw that podcast and she offered me a job that night. I got a job offer the day I got back from Joshua.
And this is your
California.
first class. So this is the result of that. This is your first class. Fucking good for you, dude.
Yes. June 15th.
Awesome that is. Yeah.
It is awesome. I'm so excited about it. You asked me if I was nervous too before we got on, and I'm not. Listen, I've been thinking about this and sort of picturing myself doing it for such a long time. And I've got such a clear idea of what I want to do that I maybe I'll have some nerves day of, but right now, zero anxiety about teaching.
Attaboy. Good for you.
I'm going to be green.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a little, but my class is
going to be one of those hands-on guys where you're like touching people all the time? Okay, because you got a personal space thing too, but a lot of yoga teachers don't. Like one of the things that made me stop going to hot yoga was when this dude literally laid on top of me for like 15
That's
seconds.
rare.
I'm like, hey, dude, can you stop laying on me? I don't like this.
Listen, there are teachers out there that adjust, but what you went through was exceptionally weird.
Yogic assault.
It's not.
And it was fucking crazy too because I loved it. I loved going to hot yoga. It was the first thing in the morning. I'd be hungover and I'd go into hot yoga. And then when I quit drinking, I really loved it. Like that was the thing that I was doing. And I was all in like 4 days a week. I'd get in there at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. The room would be fucking smoking. People would be doing the baby, the little baby doll or whatever the fuck it's called. You're doing the downward baby or the dead baby. I can't remember, but there was a baby involved and you pretended you were dead. So you got to lay there. And I'm like, oh, this is it's hot. It's winter. And like halfway through one of the practices, this guy comes over and he goes, a little lower. Yeah, sure. Child's pose, a little lower. And I'm like, this is as low as this guy gets. He goes, we can do better. And he lays on my back. And it was in my
child's pose. Yeah.
When I was in child's. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. And he's like, lower. I'm like, no, I'm
please tell me he didn't jump on you when you were in Happy Baby.
I was a very angry old man is what I was. It wasn't a happy baby. I was a very angry old man. The guy's laying on me. And listen, I'll shoot straight. I felt tip in my back, like lower back. And I'm like, that's like the whole package. And I got the whole package in my lower back. And I'm like,
no, you
I'm pretty
didn't.
sure I did. I got back package. It totally happened. And I was laying there and I'm like, I'm uncomfortable.
I'm not going to do this, by the way, everybody.
Said, thank you.
I'm not lying on you.
Yeah. It's just, to me, I left and I'm like, is that guy a yoga teacher? Is he just walking around hoping he can like teabag people's lower backs? Like that was my concern. He was a little too touchy.
Did you ask to see his certificate? Can I see your certificate, Jose?
I'd be afraid if I asked him for a certificate, he'd show me something else. I know what you mean. I'm like, no, I just meant certificate. But okay, good. So you're not going to be one of those guys. But you're going to do something, and this is why it's impressive to me. Let me just kind of get into this for a second. There is a deluge of people that are your age, my age. Well, not your age because I'm way younger, but in and around our age who are being phased out of certain industries, right? You can say that about yourself. You can blame yourself for your age. But people are experiencing between the ages of 40 and 60 the great outdoors where you're like, nah, we want younger people. They work for cheaper. Get the fuck out of here. Da-da-da-da-da-da. We don't know what we're doing. And so it usually leaves people very broken. Now, here's what you did, which I find so impressive for so many people that do what you did. You decided that nothing was beneath or above you. You're going to go and upskill yourself into an area that you enjoy. And you're going to talk about it vulnerably. You're not going to wallow in what you think someone did to you. You understand it just happened. You lost your gig. And so you pivoted towards something else. Now, that's not to say Lochlin Cross won't be on the radio again very soon. And I don't know anything from anything other than what this gentleman tells me. And he's one of the best in the world, the best in the business at what he does. But you've given yourself this beautiful out, this skill at the age of 52, 53, 54, 72, whatever you are. You're 54, but you look a lot older. And you've given yourself this opportunity and this avenue of hope and purpose. And there are so many people out there that don't do that. They're too afraid. They get stuck in their minds where they're like, nah, it's too hard. I can't do it. I'm an old dog. I don't feel like going in there and looking stupid. And you're like, I don't give a shit if I look stupid. It's like one of your superpowers, actually. It's like one of the more admirable things in the world where you're like, I'll just try shit because I want to enjoy my life. People should take a lesson at a certain age in their life from what you did. And that is why I'm intensely proud of you going to teach your first yoga class in the real world. So good for fucking you, brother. And I mean that.
I'm gonna weigh in here quickly and then we can move on.
Like you want to keep talking about how awesome you are as well?
No, I don't. Here's the thing.
You get really uncomfortable when I big you up, don't you?
I do. So listen, when I got downsized or whatever you want to call what happened to me in February, I decided that I wasn't going to live in a negative place and I was going to move forward, which I've always been really good at. But there have been times in my life where I've wallowed around in the misery that quite often you create for yourself. And you can get in a loop. I didn't want to do that. This is something that I started doing when I was 41. and I did it because of an injury.
Yeah.
Shortly after I got into it, I realized it was something that I would do for the rest of my life. Now, I am not a knock on your door and tell you how to live your life guy. I think everybody's on their own journey. But I'd like to provide an opportunity, and I think people might respond well to what it is that I offer from that world, because it's going to be a little bit different than your normal yoga class. So,
like, you're not going to grind your package into some guy's back when he's doing the happy baby.
I think this is a way for me to, please tell me he didn't. Anyway, we'll move on.
Exactly
I don't
what
want
he
to get
did.
into positions. Anyway,
I was real fat back then. He was a bit of a chubby chaser, I think.
This is an opportunity for me to give back. Yes, it was something for myself, which I will very freely admit.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose sight of the hypocrisy of this. I am very self-aware. I enjoy yoga and it's for me. But I have also been that guy that has, in his life, done very well and gotten what he has always wanted. And sometimes the people in my life have had to sacrifice for me to get what I wanted. Okay? And I'm aware of that. This, for me, in this new sort of stage of my life, is a way for me to give back. And listen, you don't have to come to my class if you are against yoga.
Dude, it is going to be packed. No one's against yoga. Only morons are against yoga. I don't know anybody that's against it.
You know what? It's hot yoga. I'll explain what hatha is, just so people are aware.
It's so awesome. People, if you're in Edmonton, go to this class. Hot yoga is the place to start. It really, really is. And there are two different kinds of disciplines, right? Hatha is one of them. It's a little more active, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a number of levels of, and the three main yoga styles, Dean, are yin, which is you sit in a pose for a long time, then hatha, which is a little bit more deliberate. You stay in a pose a little bit longer.
Like warrior pose, one of those.
You'll stay in it a little bit longer. Yep. Yeah. Warrior 1, warrior 2, warrior 3. Anyway,
the first one is
just this with your foot down. Anyway, there's also, we're not going to get into the, but hatha, you're not going to have trouble keeping up to the class. I think it's a great way to introduce people to yoga, because the vinyasa, if you're trying to figure out the poses and you're still
moves too fast. If you're a beginner, moves way too fast. Yeah.
So hatha, you sit in the pose a little bit longer. And again, from the instructional side of things, I think I'm going to be the instructor that is also hyper aware of the fact that everybody's bodies are different, because I'm a 6'4" monster. You're in a room with people of all different sizes and shapes.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to do, especially if you're starting out, what the person beside you is doing. So I've always been cognizant and aware of the fact that I have to go through this a little bit differently, and I might not be able to get into a pose, and that's okay. But just getting started, I think, is going to benefit a lot of people. And
Absolutely.
You know what?
It's not hard. Like when you go start yoga, it's really easy, and it's actually like introductory yoga, like the one that he's doing for people is like it's 40 minutes, right? What is it? 40 minutes?
It's a 60-minute class.
60-minute class.
It's a bit of a
warm-up. You can take as many breaks as you like. Nobody goes, hey, you're not.
Absolutely.
You can just go, I'm just going to lay here for a bit. Have a drink, lay on your mat, listen to the fucking weird spa music. There's a humidifier.
I'm not having weird music. That's the other thing. I'm going to play the music that I like.
Like what? Rush? A lot of Rush?
No.
Tom Sawyer?
You're going to have to come to class. Not only that, I'll take requests. It's not going to be what?
I'm not coming to the class. It's too far. I live in Ontario, dude.
No, not you. I'm just saying.
Other people. Okay.
Other people. No.
I thought you were talking to me.
You got to come to the class to figure out what the music is going to be. Music has always been a big part of my life, so I take a lot of pride in building the playlist.
Some tunes. There you go. Lahari Yoga, 11 o'clock on the 15th, which is Tuesday. Lochlin's first yoga class. Go to it.
No, it's not a Tuesday. June 15th is a Saturday. I'm going to be doing Saturday, Sundays, and the first class is June 15th. The second class is June 16th, and then I'll.
You get the weekend shift because you're new.
Yes.
There you go.
She's taking a chance on me. I've never taught before.
Start from the bottom, and now you're here, dude.
I got to work my way into this.
No time. You're going to be a weekday guy in no time.
Yeah,
you just get in there and you do a great job. You smile a lot. I'm going to be very interested to see how the complainers last in your class, because you're not a guy that likes that complaining.
I'm not getting complainers in my class. People.
You will.
I'm going to get very positive individuals that are going to come out.
You are.
Yeah.
You can't control that.
I can.
He's like, I don't like you.
You put it out there, it'll happen. I'm going to get positive people. They're going to love my class. And if they are a little bit off when they get there, they're going to come around. Hey, listen, I'll tell you this. This is a promise I will make to you.
All right.
And my class is for everybody. So if you've done yoga for 10 years, you'll enjoy it. If you've never done yoga, you're going to enjoy it. You will never feel better after a 60-minute class of yoga. And I'm talking about anybody's class than you do in your life. And Dean, you've experienced that. That's part of the reason why 100%. I've gravitated towards it.
Dude, if I could manage my life, like if I was independently wealthy to the point where nothing mattered, I would get up in the morning, I'd do hot yoga for an hour, and then I would go to Float Valley, or I would do a cold plunge after that, and then I'd go sit in the sauna for another hour, and then I would go for a bike ride. And then I would come back and I would sit in the sauna again. And then I would go for another bike ride, maybe, or I might do more yoga. Like if you haven't done yoga as a functional exercise, you're missing out. It is awesome.
My long-term plan is to, we're going to shift over to DeNiro. I can't wait to see this video. But my long-term plan is to actually have my own studio. But we're talking 5-10 years from now. And again, this is why I'm so excited about getting the opportunity to teach, because she's giving me a chance at Lahari. Send me a note if you want any help getting on the app or whatever too, because I can help you. You need to be on Mind Body, the app, to book my class. Okay. Anyway, we can move on. Let's see this DeNiro thing. Thank you for letting me talk about that.
No problem. For 17 long minutes, actually, we let you talk about that. Remember that, because you're an hour and a half late for the podcast today too. So remember that.
I'm sorry about being late about the podcast.
A little bit of a scorekeeper.
Actually, the reason it was your fault to begin with.
And I can accept fault, but I won't hear this time. Like Donald Trump, who just can't accept fault for anything, including stealing nuclear documents. His trial in New York came to an end today. Closing arguments as of today.
They're doing closing arguments.
Yeah. He's toast.
So we might get a verdict this week.
Yeah, you might get a verdict that he's guilty and he's going to have to go to fucking jail.
You think that?
I do. I think you know what? We'll get to some of the stuff here in just a second.
I don't think he's going to jail.
One of the incredible parts of the time that we live in is, again, I weigh it against how I grew up, where you'd see politicians in wingtip shoes and nice suits, and you're like, fuck, that guy's probably really smart. He's probably the smartest of all of us, right? Guy's probably like super unimpugnable. Like I remember thinking that. Got an MP that lived across the street from me when I was a kid, and his name was Doug. And I'm like, man, this guy's like really important. He looks important. He drives around like he's important. Like he seems important. I can't get over the visuals of the Donald Trump trial and the people that are standing outside trying to cheer for him, or anybody that supports the guy at this point in time. Like, and it's easy for everybody to say, because we've been saying the same thing, like what's going on. And I know what's going on. It's a religion. It's a cult. It's all of those things. It's an interpersonal cult. It's an interpersonal religion. That's what we see, cult personality. Like, I know how these things happen, but over the past, I would say 3 to 4 weeks, hearing the details of that trial where he was complicit, like on tape, on audio tape, going, so do we just give that hooker $150,000 to make her go away? Do we just give this other hooker a whole bunch of money to make it go away? Because I need
a porn star, but
do you know what I mean? Like, but it was that plain a language in the recording where you're like, yeah, that's an election violation, and someone lost as a result, and a certain group of like, it's super fucking illegal.
Well, hold on. Here's the thing. I've been following it pretty closely. I shouldn't say that. I've been following it closely enough to get an idea of the, sort of the ins and outs of it. The thing that's fascinating for me is, and you sort of touched on it, it's a paperwork issue. It's about where the money came from. And then the thing that is insane about this is that they're literally bringing guys on the stand and they're saying just the most horrendous stuff. Oh, yeah, for sure. This is part of American politics. We bring a guy in and go, hey, we're going to get some awful stories about you because they're all true. I'll tell you what, we're going to help you. We're not going to run them. We're going to buy the stories. We're going to bury them. The cost of the story is going to be set amount. Your fee to us is going to be set amount. And the funny thing about it is they're wildly open about this in court because it isn't illegal down there.
No. Dude,
but yet
it's not illegal up here either.
They go crazy, and it happens up here as well. If you think it doesn't happen in Canadian politics, you're out of your mind. But this is a regular occurrence. Okay, but then we have entire there's this massive political movement in the States and in Canada and democratic societies to stop outside governments from interfering in disinformation to sway an election. Mm-hmm. Yet they're doing it right under our noses. And in an open courthouse in New York, the head guy,
give him details.
The head guy, David Pecker, which still to me is funny. I don't know why it shouldn't be.
Well, because it's a last name sounds like Dick, right? That's why.
From the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
Very succinctly describes what he does behind the scenes to screw one person and benefit another complete animal. And they're supposed to go back. The jury is supposed to go back after the closing arguments, and they're supposed to ignore all the stuff that just makes him look like a complete asshole and base their decision on, oh, yeah, but they took that money out of the wrong account. That's what's fascinating to me about this whole
you
case.
Could go to jail for a process order. Like for a process issue,
that's what this case is about, Dean. It's not about him paying anybody off. It's not about David Pecker.
It kind of is. It's about who gave the order, where the money came from, and what the purposes of the payoff were. But to your point, the thing that catches these guys is the paperwork, right? It's the explain where this money came from, what was the purposes of this money. It was so you're going to pay that money so this person get ahead, and you can bury a story, which you're not allowed to do according to us. But according to us, we don't know anything. You can do that in the United States. You cannot do that
in an election.
But it's not. Yeah, but that's what makes it illegal. Because there are rules around that kind of thing when it comes to the election. What makes it illegal in the eyes of the court of law. So election law is different than a court of law, right? What makes it illegal in the eyes of the law is that the money wasn't for what it was supposed to be for, meaning that he used that money to get ahead and to fuck another guy over, and that money came in and out of, and people profited from the idea that somebody was going to benefit from burying something that should be free information. So that's what makes that illegal. The election stuff, which is fucking hilarious, is that you are not allowed to pay someone off to not tell their truth for the effort of getting elected. You can't do that. It is against the law in Canada. It is against the law in the United States. But the thing that makes it illegal is the evidence. And the evidence then leans into the illegality on the civil side as well, like in the actual court of law, not election law. So election laws are different than real laws, but they work hand in hand to punitively damage the person. And the person in this case that paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to Karen McDougal, Stormy Daniels, the doorman who knew of a love child, which that was another thing. Apparently there's a young Trump bastard running around out there. I'd look for the biggest idiot with the biggest nose and the worst hair, and you're going to find
if
that
I'd
Trump
tell
kid.
Anybody.
Yeah, I don't know if I would either.
Who's your biological father?
But that is an industry.
Beer, please.
That is an industry in the United States. And it is
the cottage industry,
a job, but dude, it happens here too. There are companies that do that here too. David Pecker did that as a favor to people because he also had a publishing company, the National Enquirer, so he could bury stories and he could also put out competing stories. Now, how it works in Canada?
So
is
he
fascinating.
was also putting out stories like like that weren't true. This is the other crazy thing. So Trump not only had David Pecker buy stories he didn't want to get out and bury them, he also had David Pecker sit down in a boardroom with his writers and go, Ted Cruz's wife was, banging the pool boy. And we're going to release that.
Yeah, he was the guy that floated that rumor that Ted Cruz's dad killed Lee Harvey Oswald. It was in the National Enquirer. It was the same thing, just to get rid of.
It's insane to me that that's not the case.
It's legal. Not only is it legal, that was news to people, dude. And here's the thing: it happens in Canada all the fucking time. And let me tell you how it works here. Everybody should pay attention. There are crisis management organizations. One of the most notable, because they came after me. They got paid to fuck me over. So there are crisis management companies. One is called Navigator. It's owned by a gentleman named Jamie Watt, who is the devil. And Jamie Watt gets paid to Jeff Ballingall from Canada.
Allegedly the devil.
No, he's the devil. Jamie Watt, he's the journalism devil. He's not Satan, but might as well be. So what he does, he gets paid by people like Hockey Canada to make horrific things like burying sexual abuse with a whole bunch of Timbits money. Burying sexual abuse. Hockey Canada will come to him and go, we'll give you hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you have to try and protect us publicly to write stories.
So they become the middleman for the negotiations as a separation between.
No, they become the PR agency of note for anybody that did something absolutely terribly fucking wrong, or the PR agency of note for any organization that wants to fuck somebody. So in this case, Jamie Watt, Navigator, did all that work for Hockey Canada. If you remember correctly, I ran into Jamie Watt when he was hired by Chorus Entertainment, the company I worked for at the time, to paint me as a virulent homophobe, because they really wanted to get out from underneath my contract.
Now, why did they do this? I'll tell you why. Because it works.
Totally. It 100% works. It 100% works.
To this day,
the way that stuff that's happening in the United States, which you heard play out over the last 6 weeks in a court of law, which is like mouths dropped, like that's legal. Not only is it legal, organizations like the Toronto Star, organizations like City TV, organizations like the Toronto Sun, they will take money from people for those stories that are not true. They will take that money and say, okay, we've got a reporter who will write that story.
We know that
story.
For sure that there's money being
1,000%
exchanging hands,
favors and money, and hey, I need to place an article in your newspaper.
Okay, I just need to stop you right here
all the fucking time.
I just need to stop you right here. So we don't have a problem with that, or let's say society doesn't have a problem with that to the point where it's not actually even illegal in Canada, the United States. No one's going to jail for doing these kinds of things in this country or in any other country or in the United States. Okay, because it's legal. Okay, so you can completely. So what separates that from China manipulating Facebook or Twitter or India or Russia or any of these players? What separates them from creating bots that get people all riled up on social media accounts that may have somewhat of an impact on how people vote in an upcoming election? What's the difference? Tell me what the difference is.
Nothing. Canadians and Canadian companies, Canadian politicians believe that they should be allowed to do it to their citizens, and outside influence should not be the case, unless, of course, you are the Conservative Party of Canada or the UCP or any of those conservative agencies or parties that are connected to MAGA, Maple MAGA, and all that sweet conservative religious lobby money.
Hold on. I've been doing this a lot lately on this podcast.
What's that?
I need to say it out loud.
Yes.
They all do it.
Yes, they do it.
They just have different tactics and they go about it differently. And there's different players involved. But politics in this country, the United States of America.
Do you know who does it?
Biden's doing it.
I'll tell you where you see it in Canada, ladies and gentlemen. The Canadian Anti-Hate Network. You ever heard of them?
Yes.
They work with this loose group of handkerchief-wearing losers that call themselves Antifa, those guys. We're here to stop fascism, but we'll beat the shit out of anybody on the way to do it. the goal for them is the exact same as it is for every single third-party agency, and that's what these are, third-party agencies. That's what Take Back Alberta is, a third-party agency. They are the most powerful political agencies on the planet, and they are in Canada. And you're allowed to have them. They're like super PACs or media companies. They're like they're basically like the militarized version of a political party that doesn't have the same rules as every political party. That's what they are. That's what Canada Proud is. That's what
because the fundraising efforts are regulated differently as well, right?
So absolutely, you can pay anybody anything. You can take as much money as you want, and you can act like a total asshole while you do it.
It's why there's that partnership, though, because as somebody who's running, you can't. There's rules about how you can collect money and what you can do with it. So if you get an organization like Take Back Alberta, right, on your side, and they're going to promote you, or they're going to get behind you as a candidate, they don't have the same regulations and restrictions to collect money and raise money that you do as a candidate. So it benefits you, and then you have access to a pool of money. And
fake media entities that parade around as real media entities to spread your fucking propaganda as real stories, right? That's how it works. That's how the National Enquirer works.
That's what it's morphed into.
Totally.
Manipulating social media.
You how many people from the extreme right and the extreme left have approached us to take their money to carry their water, which we would refuse to do 100 times out of 100. Like the David Parker thing, the agreement we have to do his podcast. There's this rumor going around that I was going to be producing all of Take Back Alberta's digital content, all these other things. And the goal there is to invalidate everything someone does. It's to say, okay, I'm going to invalidate everything that person is by suggesting that they are untoward in any capacity, right? So it's the whole premise behind how to create your own religion.
You will benefit as a company from doing a show with David Parker just based on the fact that you'll get people numbers and things.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that's what you're after. And
I'm
you're
no
take
idiot.
me to the keg. Which is what
and I'm no dummy, because there has to be a business aspect to what we do as well, right? So I'm more than happy to do business with anybody. I will continue to tell the stories that I tell. And we don't do that for money. We don't do that for other people. We don't curate agency or reputations for other people. I do consulting on the side with other people on crisis management because I've had to do it for myself. That's something that I do, not doing any of that with any political parties, because their goal has nothing to do with making society better. Their goal is emails, money, and trying to legitimately use all their agency to not prove that their client or their person, whether it's Poilievre or whether it's Justin Trudeau, is the best option. It's to prove everybody else is out to get you. Your life is miserable, and the only way to have a happy life is to vote for that guy or that girl or to put that party in power. Now that is a cult, and we see it all the fucking time. And I've been telling people about this for years and years and years and years and years. So when we sit around and we talk about how people are influenced on a daily basis, and we talk about exactly that, this very thing, which is like, hey, we're influenced by the news we take in and the information we get from trusted sources. And we have been trusting these sources for 100 years. These sources have all been bought and paid for by and large. Every single one of them. And it is impossible not to see it. So when you follow the Trump shit, just because you don't think it's happening in Canada, I've just showed you that it is. I've just told you that it is. You can go and look for those receipts yourself. You legitimately cannot believe anybody or anything that comes out of any third party or political institution that's attached to a third party when it has the only premise is to invalidate everything that someone might say about them that's true. That's the whole goal. That's the entire goal. And Donald Trump did a fucking amazing job of it. Like the media is the public enemy. Media is the enemy. Mainstream media is the enemy. And over and over and over and over again. Those same
That's the hard thing for anybody against Trump to buy into, is that there was some level of planning or, you know, some thought process behind what he did. Everybody just wants to believe that he's an idiot. But I think down the road, he's going to get credit, you know, that a long time from now.
Oh, dude, it was
credit
like
for some of the things that he accomplished.
Herculean. And Poilievre's the same, right? Like he put out a tweet this morning talking about how he needs our money and our donations because I'm still on his mailing list. No matter how many times I subscribe, people keep subscribing me. Like I got it again this morning. I'm like, holy fuck, they keep doing it. This is awesome.
That's someone's trolling you, and it's not me. But I wish I had thought about it.
I'll read you the email. It's actually fucking hilarious because and these come like every day. And the whole goal here is to just go back to his army of political idiots to get him to keep giving him money. And it's sloganeering at its best. Trust fund Trudeau and sell out Singh. That's the title of the email. Trust fund Trudeau and sell out Singh. Dear Dean, we need your help.
And that's a Trump thing. The nicknames.
Yeah, big time. Dear Dean, we need your help. Trust fund Trudeau and sell out Singh are trying to ruin your summer.
I am not going to be able to talk.
How the fuck does he know what? How the fuck does he know what I'm doing for the summer? I just booked a really nice cottage at Lake Joe. I'm going to be up there. Like I'm really looking forward to the summer. No one's ruining my summer. I drive an EV. I never have to get gas. By the way, we got to talk about Tesla at some point. Big fan. Didn't know I was. Don't buy the Cybertruck, but fuck, I cannot stop driving the Tesla. Anyway, he goes back to trust fund Trudeau, sell out Singh. Their sky-high carbon taxes on gas and diesel make classic Canadian summer traditions more expensive. Yeah. Having burgers in the backyard's fucking gonna be terrible this summer because of the gas tax rebate. We must axe the tax completely and give Canadians a break. I
disagree with them.
Only. And this is where you get into the interpersonal religion stuff. This is how you build a cult, by the way. There are 6 steps to it. This is step number 5. Only Pierre Poilievre and common sense conservatives will do that. Only us. You're hopeless without us. Give us your money and your time, and we'll fight for you. He'll do none of those things, by the way. He will fight.
All right. You. Can I weigh in here quickly?
Yeah, let me finish this email. It's so nice.
Okay.
But we need to help you go around the media and get our message in front of Canadians. The Liberals are attempting to use bought and paid for propaganda to gaslight their supporters and make them think everything's okay. I mean, it is for me.
Yeah,
but you know better. You know the truth. And the truth is after 9 years of Trudeau, Canada feels broken. But it doesn't have to be this way. Dean Pierre Poilievre will reverse what Trudeau's broken. Can you help him? Chip in now before our May 31st deadline to help Pierre run a winning campaign election. Donate today. So he presents himself as like a golden god.
The savior. This is not new information. Yeah,
he's the only person.
The one thing about it, the one thing I will say is that if you're going to give him any credit, is he has stuck to his talking points. The consistency has paid off. And if anybody's taking any notes in the Trudeau camp, they're definitely leaning on that as something that has not happened in the Trudeau government. They have switched gears, tactics. They've confused everybody. And you know what? Where they're at is largely their own fault. And we are going to end up with a conservative government this next time around. And then you and I are going to be doing a podcast in another 2 years about how bad things are because of how everybody voted. And I'll tell you one thing. Yeah. You can read as many fucking like emails that you're getting from Pierre Poilievre. I am not voting Liberal in this next election. And I don't want to go another 30 minutes on it. But the one thing I do want to make, to mention is that you have for quite some time talked about the connection between religion and politics, cults and politics and that kind of thing. And I think over time, you've been very consistent with that message. And it's not that far of a step. And I think people are a lot closer to, what you're saying now than they may have been 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
But it's systemic. Like when you think about not just what go and to your point,
it is very comparable.
PP crushes it. Like he's super organized. He stays on point.
He's going to win.
Doesn't mix, and he's probably going to win because we're dumb. And we're like, yeah, well, fuck, I'll believe any slogan as long as we can get rid of whatever that thing is over there.
We're also done with Justin Trudeau. And there's a lot about what he's saying that's right. And that's the other thing that's working against the Liberals. And again, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it with you. You got a real hatred for the PP government and conservatives and everything
I just know he's legitimately as compromised as it gets, and he's a national security threat, and he's a terrible fucking individual who shouldn't be around the levers of power. That I know. And there are people
to get rid of Trudeau, I'm going to vote for that piece of shit.
Well, go ahead.
And a lot of people are going to be joining me in the polls.
Good for you. I think that's fucking great. Dude,
I'm gonna because we need a change. We definitely need a change.
We don't need that change, but sure, vote for him because here, the other side of that coin, the token on the other side of that coin. Do you know how much I enjoyed watching Donald Trump fumble through a 4-year presidency? Do you know how much fucking incredible content came out of that presidency?
Absolutely.
Do you know what kind of content we'll get out of a conservative-led government? When
I'm marking that paper knowing full well that I am saying yes to chaos and saying yes to a lot of things that I'm going to be very regretful for happening because I put that mark on that paper. I am that done with Justin Trudeau. And that's the thing that I think that the left doesn't realize about where we're at. And you can say whatever you want. The guy's Satan. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Literally, you can show me horns coming out of his hat.
So you're just like those MAGA people down there who are like, hey, listen, he could like shoot someone
in the middle, and I'm aware of the fact that we need a change. And that's what we're dealing with here.
I like it.
So I know you're not being paid by the liberals, but that messaging from the liberal government and how they're trying to combat this is not going to work in this next election. It's not going to work.
No,
it just isn't. And that's
the only thing that's going to work. The only thing that'll derail that dude.
Having this conversation.
No, it's okay.
It's so pointless.
I enjoy it. The only thing that's going to derail that dude is if we find something out that I'm pretty sure we're going to find out pretty soon. Like it'll be in the next 2 to 3 months. You're going to find out some stuff about him.
It won't matter.
It's funny because one of the guys we used to work with sent me an email and he's like, I just want you to know you're being used by conservative operatives to oust Pierre Poilievre, and they're going to write a story about you soon. And I'm like, interesting. Whose story? Who's writing it? And he's like, I'm not telling.
Me.
I don't even care.
Did you tell James to go back to counseling? There's a poll from the past. All right, let's fucking move on.
Tilley hat? Because you looked ridiculous, and you can see.
No, I did. What?
Yeah, you did. You look. Yeah, you put out a tweet. You're at Costco doing what everybody does. You go through the clothing section, and you might see something that grabs your eye. You grab a Tilley hat. You put it on. You ask the Twitterverse, "What do you think?" And you got a litany of replies. My favorite being from Douglas Connors from the True North Eager Beaver podcast, who said, and I quote, "The gays say a hard nope. Don't do that to yourself." Dude, if you don't want to be 54, don't get that hat.
Hold on. Here's the thing. I've always wanted a hat like this.
Break 50, and that's everybody's walking hat. I see you walk downtown, and I'm like, he's 50. Whatever.
I love this hat. Is there a point in a man's life where you should start wearing this hat? Like, is it 50? Yeah. Like, where is it?
50, 55. I think you're right there. I think like 55, because like 50 and 55, you wouldn't be caught dead in this probably, right? This is the first time you've entertained the idea of a Tilley hat?
No, I've brought it up in the past. I don't know when I started to bring up the idea that I wanted one of these things, but the wife keeps shooting me down. Like whenever I see one, I'll send a picture of it to her, and she's like, "No."
That's because you look like you're 107. Like you literally look like you're just getting ready to go outside and weed the garden for the 15th time that day because you have nothing else to do. Like that's the kind of guy you look like. Like it's grub season. You get really excited to go clear the backyard of grubs.
Two questions for anybody listening to this podcast right now. Send me an answer to 2 questions. 1, is there an age thing, or because I see younger guys wearing those hats, or is this a women just hate this hat? Because not very many women, most women are supporting my wife's thought that that's not a good move for me.
Well, it's not. You don't do anything for yourself with that hat. That hat dates you. Like a trucker hat, maybe a little mesh back. Like even the hat you're wearing now in the locker room. I know why you like hats. You're bald. I get it.
I'm covering up the bald head.
Yeah, I know what you're doing, and it's totally your prerogative. You do whatever. But you don't want to age yourself prematurely. Like wait till you're 60 to get a Tilley hat, because at that point you're not trying to impress the ladies. Not like you're trying to impress the ladies now. But if your wife is like, I don't want to be seen with you in that hat, it's a great indicator that you shouldn't buy the hat. Okay. And she's like, she's saying that for a reason.
That makes the most sense to me.
For her when you go out with her. She's like, I don't want anybody seeing you in that hat. That's what she's saying to you. She's not saying you don't look bad or good. She's saying, if you love me, don't buy that hat because I don't want to be seen with you in it.
It's also the start of a really good nickname for me. Lockadell Dundee. Or do you like Indiana Cross better?
You look like one of those guys that leaves his house in pants that are too big with a big beard, and he's walking the dog and he's got a coffee in his hand and he's fumbling for like
if I would have bought that hat
poop bags
at Costco. By the way, I saw them at Costco. It's not the real Tilley. It's sort of maybe like the next level down.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Tilley hat though. They put their name on it. It's only $35. But if I would have bought that hat, I probably would have worn it straight every day all summer long.
Yeah, that's why your wife told you not to buy the hat.
I would have worn it on the podcast.
I want to end the podcast with Robert De Niro, and here's why.
Okay. All right. We're back to the Trump thing.
Oh, good. We're back. Well, we'll end on the Trump thing. I wanted to get to the to Tilley hat before we left because
you have no desire to get a Tilley hat.
No.
Throw that thing on. Get a couple of walking sticks. No. Head it on in a pair of shorts that are a little too high, maybe.
Democrats, you are
comfortable walking shoe.
No, I don't. I have no desire. I have zero desire for that Tilley hat. That Tilley hat goes with a walking cane and like a golden retriever at 65. Don't do it. Don't do it. Finishing with the Trump thing, and speaking of old people, old cool people, this gentleman would never buy a Tilley hat. Robert De Niro today. He went to the Trump trial because he fucking hates the guy. Like, you think you hate Donald Trump? Robert De Niro has been talking about kicking his ass for like 8 years. He wants
his
to
hatred
Donald
is
Trump's ass.
Palatable.
He wants to grab
a lot of people in New
president,
York feel like this.
Pull him into a New York alley and curb stomp him. And he would and he could. Now, he gave a speech this morning outside the courthouse basically telling everybody that Donald Trump was just a fucking piece of shit. I believe he even said that. He was terrible for America. He's a rapist. He's a murderer.
He's not going to be on CNN anytime soon.
Well, he's not.
They got to stop putting him on CNN because he swears. He says the F word all the time.
Yeah, he's an F word guy. I love that about him. Anyway, after his speech, he starts getting heckled by MAGAts. I want you to watch this because this is where the New York comes out of Mr. De Niro, and I fucking love this.
Democrats, you are gangsters. You are gangsters. You're washed up. Fuck you. You're a little punk. You're a softy. You're a nobody. Democrats, you are.
I want you to wait for this. So these guys like, you're washed up. Dude won a fucking Oscar last year. He's one of the most celebrated fucking actors of our time.
Oh, but he's a little thin-skinned from what I know about De Niro.
Fuck you. Oh, I love it.
I'm surprised De Niro did not go after him.
I wish he would have.
You are gangsters.
He's a mean bastard.
Fuck you.
You're a little punk. You're a softy. You're a nobody.
Yeah,
your movies suck. You're
movies
trash.
suck.
You're trash. You're done. You're done after this, guys.
I fucking like New Yorkers. I love this. I love that he is as fucking hard on this as he has been in the past little while. But I will say this, as someone who likes to regulate himself a little bit, when you see people that show up to political rallies like it's a fucking football game.
Yes,
like I get that it's newsworthy. I get these crowds showing up because they want to be part of history. I get that. I get all that stuff. But I have never in my life been so for or against anything that I would waste my time to show up to argue with people, unless it wasn't for me. Like, I mean, listen, if Pierre Poilievre becomes the prime minister, am I going to show up to a rally to get rid of him? Fuck no. No, I can operate in any world, in any government, in any city, in any country. It doesn't matter to me. But it's the radicalization of people in the political arena, even Donald Trump, which it has been him. I mean, everybody's just come out because of him, and now in Canada, it's Pierre Poilievre. But I have never, ever, like, even when I was a kid, you go to Oilers games, would I stand up and cheer? Yeah. But for a fucking politician, for like someone who wants to lead us to show up to a rally, to give any of those people my money, to cheer for those people, or inversely. And hey, listen, I love Robert De Niro. I love that he's doing this. I think it's great. It's good for him. I don't care about anything that much. Do you?
No, and I don't know. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm 100% on board, regardless of where I stand politically. There's I almost feel guilty about it a bit, because I wish I felt that passionate about something that would drag me out to the courthouse with a sign to support one side or the other.
I think you do.
I feel bad that I don't. I mean, I worry about where we're at. I worry about politics. I have strong opinions, but no, you're not getting my money for either side. I'm not
Buddy,
wasting my time and energy.
I think that's healthy. Like I don't think you ever want to get to a point where you're like, you know what? I like that nerdy politician so much. I'm going to show up to a fucking rally, wear a foam finger, sweat my ass off, stand in line, cheer like an idiot, and then scratch that person a check at the end of this because it just means that much to me. I'm such a fan.
So
such a fan.
I
have never
little story.
liked anything that much, like fucking ever. And that's what shakes me now. That's this kind of stuff where you're like, there's something wrong with us. You're going to go fucking cheer for some nerd that graduated McGill in like 1982 and he's never fucking had a job. You're going to go cheer for some rapist. You're going to go cheer for some old dude. You're going to cheer for some old lady. You're going to go stand there and give them your money so they can rule you. Are you fucking serious? You're going to go cheer for a drama teacher. You're going to show up.
Hey,
and go,
so
that's my guy.
Here's I have a story for you, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but when I was 7 years old, my dad sat me down and said, "I'm leaving your mother," and he did it. Like, I remember, I have this clear vision of this in the living room. I was sitting on the couch. And I watched the disintegration of a relationship that probably never had a hope in hell. My mom was 15 when she got knocked up. She turned 16. 2 months later, she's got a bouncing baby boy. Adds a second, my sister to the equation a couple of years later. That marriage was never going to last. It wasn't. My dad was only a year and a half older than my mom. It had no, and listen, again, like, I'm aware of these things now, and I look back on it and I realize, hey, listen, any issues I had with my mom or my dad or any of that, you put it aside. It had the recipe for disaster. But I watched the idea of an authority figure in my mind, the two of them, it disintegrated in front of me.
Yeah.
And it shaped my idea of what authority was moving forward. And not positively. Okay? Mm-hmm. We've had a similar situation. If you take a look at society, with politics, with our access to information now, none of these guys can get away with anything. So we've brought them down to a level of, I don't know, they're just idiots like us. Like, there's no Robert
there's no mystery
anymore.
Yeah.
And that has destroyed this idea of what politics used to be, yet they're still trying to live there. These are just human beings that got into a certain path in life, and these guys want to be those images of what politicians used to be in our past. They're never going to get there. Because
we know too much about them. Yeah, you're right. And you can blame the internet for a lot of things, but like evening the playing field between the idea that these people are elite and never do anything wrong and we're the problem has been one of the great fucking exercises of the internet, right? Yeah.
So we're sitting here watching these people on all levels, whether they have money or don't have money, whether they have influence or don't have influence, and we're seeing all their warts. And we're hearing about them. And then not only that, now we have this whole cottage industry of creating these warts too, because that's the other thing that everybody's figured out. Oh, if I dismantle this person's image in the public eye completely in front of them, and I can pay to do it, it's going to give me a leg up in the next time people step to the polls. So when we're going to vote now, we're not going to vote for saviors. We're going to, and this is why I think the numbers are going down significantly as well. We're voting for our asshole neighbor who slept around on his wife and got a DUI in last summer.
Or that asshole down the street who stole a whole bunch of money from his mother and grandmother as they lay dying in some kind of hospital bed. And Paul Calandra's name comes to mind. You know, I'm not saying he stole any money from her, but there are definitely news stories out there of a familial fight. Yeah. And the dude is my MP. Yeah, allegedly got in a fight over his mother's money with his sisters. And you're right. And you're 100% right. And and here's the thing.
We're never going to live in a world where we put these people up on pedestals again.
No. Exactly.
And unless, of course, they scare you.
But it doesn't attract. Well, that's all they have left. I mean, you know, the fucking emperor has no clothes. We know that politicians are just regular out of work people like Jamil Giovanni, or any liberal MP like Marcy Ian. Say what you like about Marcy Ian. She might be a nice lady. She was a out of work media person.
A lot of
Jamil Giovanni, out of work media
broadcasters end up in politics for some strange reason.
Out of work media people who like outlive their good, but they kiss the ring enough during their media careers that they'll be a good soldier for those people. Like you're not getting academics, intellects, people like economists that show up to run in their riding so that they can join the Liberal or Conservative Party so they can make Canada a more economically sound place where people make more money. You're not going to get, you know, infectious disease experts that want to become the Surgeon General of the United States, or you're going to get fucking used car salesmen, shitty lawyers who have a terrible fucking history, and terrible out of work media people. And then the elites who just kind of pick and choose who they want to repeat their messaging. That is exactly what we have, to your point.
You are not unlike anybody else.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. But it was a fun rip today. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. I want to get to, in the next show, I want to talk about the Vegas alien sighting. And we're not talking spaceship. We're talking aliens.
I'm still waiting for the video.
Talking alien bodies in cloaking devices. And I'm not even kidding. I read that today. Watch the video today. If you haven't seen the Vegas cloaking device alien,
so I can watch it before we do the podcast tomorrow. We also need to talk about Game 4 tomorrow. Edmonton's behind the 8 ball, losing Game 3.
I watched exactly 0 seconds of that game, but I did call you, by the way, last night.
Yeah.
And
you called me in the middle of the second period.
There was a voice in the background going, "Who the fuck is calling? Get off the fucking phone." Those are the exact words, by the way. And I hear you laughing. I'm not
confirming or denying.
And I'm like, "Who's that?" And you can't talk. You're laughing so hard. And you go, "It's game time." And then I hear, "Yeah, it's game time. So tell whoever you're talking to get off the fucking phone." And I'm like, "What is happening right now?" And you're like, "That's Deb. She's watching the game. I have to call you back."
She's very involved in the games. She's very committed.
Oilers lose 5-3 last night, down 2-1 in the series to Dallas.
And well, I got a lot to say about that, but we'll get into that tomorrow. I also can we put a pin in this? I don't know if we'll get to this tomorrow, but I want to discuss the PT Cruiser,
Western Canada's standard
cab. Leave it. The PT Cruiser. That's it. I got a lot to say about the PT Cruiser.
All right. PT Cruiser, Vegas Aliens.
And sign up for the Ardent Roof Systems Golf Tournament, July 5th, Ranch Golf and Country Club. You can get your foursome in by going to ardentroofsystems.com. You know what? They do singles as well. You can put a single in, and what they do is they take all the singles and combine them. So maybe you only have money for a single, but you want to meet some new people, try it out. And we'll have a chance for you to get on that tournament with Dean and I too. We'll figure out how we're going to auction that off. Anyway.
Brought to you by ardentroofsystems.com. Go to their website today. You can donate money there. You can buy a foursome there. You can buy as a single. You can sponsor a whole. You can do all that stuff. Of course, Ardent Roof Systems. And our friend Stacy Distel, one of the greatest people in the world, and he is the very best at eaves, roofing, siding, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks, Locke. Talk to you soon. There you go. Lock and cross. That's it for us. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget, everything we do can be found at Crier Media. Go to crier.co for more details. And, of course, it is brought to you by, as always, our friends and yours at Muse on the Mic, the podcast. Go and download it today. This is a sex work podcast. Emily and Riley are fantastic. Season 2, I believe, debuts next week. where they talk about everything from couples fun to how to advocate for women in the sex work industry, men in the sex work industry, how to make money in the sex work industry safely. And not only that, they're entrepreneurs. Go to Muse Massage Spa for more details. Muse on the Mic is the name of their podcast. Patreon is where you can find it, as well as YouTube. Patreon is uncensored, so you'll get the juice there. Only a couple bucks a month for their Patreon sub as well. So make sure you go and download Muse on the Mic, subscribe on their Patreon channel or anywhere you get your fine podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify. And you can also find it at crier.co. We're brought to you by Can Torque as well, makers of rugged, hardworking torque wrenches for heavy industry around the world, out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, for heavy industry worldwide. He was just in Dubai. I think he was in China, just got back. He makes torque wrenches, the very best in the world for heavy industry around the world, in the nuclear, forestry, tunneling industry, steel industry, railroad industry. If it's a bolting solution that you can't find a solution for, not only will they make it, they'll service it, and they've got distribution opportunities, a brand new website. Check out all their products at cantorque.com. Again, cantorque.com. Products, services, news about their podcast, Talking Torque, which is a very good podcast as well. Check out Colin and his group over at Cantorque at cantorque.com. Makers of rugged, hardworking torque wrenches, manufactured in Canada by Canadians, with a little maple leaf on every single product that they sell. And, of course, brought to you by Fact Check, makers of disinformation killing software. Join their beta test team today. FAKTCHEK.io. Again, FAKTCHEK.io. If you do not want to be led astray when it comes to information you consume, pictures, videos, spoken word, anything with a URL, make sure you go to factcheck.io and sign up for their beta testing team today. Become a fact check beta verified fact checker. Listen, you're tired of the shit. We're tired of the shit. And some very good people, much smarter than me, have decided to put their nose to the grindstone to develop some disinformation killing software that gives you full epistemology of the lie that you read. And or maybe even it's true and you don't know and you question it. If you like living in a silo, you will hate it. If you love to be informed, go to factcheck.io and sign up for their beta test program today. FAKTCHEK.io. Factcheck.io. Do you believe? I know I do. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here. Don't forget, everything we do is at Crier Media YouTube channel. Go to crier.co for more details as well. You can follow us anywhere Crier Media is socially, as well as at It's Dean Blundell socially. So make sure you do that for us. Have a great day. Great subscribe. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.